If your garden soil looks lifeless, dull, and refuses to grow anything no matter how much compost or fertilizer you throw at it, don't lose hope just yet. Because today, we're uncovering an ancient soil restoration method that farmers once used long before chemical fertilizers existed. A method that transforms dead dirt into thriving microbe-rich soil bursting with life. This secret technique has been used for centuries in different cultures, from ancient Japan and the Amazon basin to rural Europe. The key idea was simple. Instead of feeding the plant, they learned how to feed the soil life. Once the microscopic world beneath the roots was alive and balanced, plants naturally thrived without struggle. Modern science now calls this process microbial regeneration. But ancient farmers didn't need microscopes. They learned it by observing nature, and the results were astonishing. Let's break down how this ancient method works, why it's more powerful than compost alone, and how you can bring your own dead soil back to life in less than a month. When gardeners see poor soil, the first instinct is to dig, till, and throw in bags of compost or fertilizer. But that's actually one of the fastest ways to destroy soil life. Ancient growers understood that the secret wasn't in constant disturbance. It was in letting the soil rebuild itself naturally. So the first step in this ancient method is to stop disturbing it. Avoid deep tilling, chemical fertilizers and pesticides, all of which kill beneficial microbes and earthworms. These little organisms are your silent workforce. Without them, your soil is just sterile dust. Instead, focus on creating an environment where these microbes can come back, and that begins with feeding them the right materials. Here's the part that modern agriculture often gets wrong. Soil microbes need different food than plants. Fertilizers feed plants directly, but microbes feed on natural decomposing organic matter. When the microbial population grows, it releases nutrients gradually in perfect balance, exactly how plants evolved to receive them. The ancient soil healers would add a mixture known today as microbial tea or soil revival slurry. It's made from 3 core ingredients. First, fermented plant materials like old leaves, weeds or green scraps. Second, a carbon source such as molasses, brown sugar or rice water. And third, a microbial starter like compost, forest soil or aged manure. They would soak this mix in water for a few days until it came alive, literally bubbling with microbial activity. When poured onto the soil, it introduced billions of beneficial organisms that began breaking down organic matter, forming humus and unlocking minerals locked deep in the ground. This process didn't just feed plants, it rebuilt the entire soil ecosystem. Ancient farmers never left soil bare. They understood something we've almost forgotten. Bare soil dies quickly. When the sun hits unprotected soil, it sterilizes the surface, evaporates moisture, and kills off beneficial organisms. So, they always covered the ground with a living or dead mulch. Straw leaves, wood chips, or living cover crops. This layer acts like a protective blanket, keeping moisture in and temperature stable while feeding decomposers below. As mulch breaks down, it becomes a steady source of carbon, the energy that microbes need to survive. Underneath, fungal networks begin to grow, forming symbiotic relationships with plant roots and improving nutrient exchange. Over time, even the hardest, most compacted dirt begins to crumble and darken, transforming into rich, fragrant living soil. Here's something ancient growers understood intuitively. Nature always works in partnerships. In the soil, that partnership happens between plants, fungi, and microbes. They often planted deep-rooting herbs like borage, comfrey, yarrow, and alfalfa. These plants dig their roots deep into the earth, mining nutrients and bringing them to the surface. Their roots leak sugars that feed the microbes, creating an underground buffet that keeps the ecosystem thriving. Even weeds were seen as helpers, the first pioneers that began healing broken soil. Once the soil improved, food crops were reintroduced, and, well, yields skyrocketed. By reintroducing these natural plant-microbe partnerships, ancient gardeners essentially jump-started the soil's recovery cycle. And, the more it healed, the less work they had to do each year. The final ingredient, and perhaps the most important one, was patience. Ancient growers knew that soil regeneration isn't instant. It's a living process, really, like healing a wound. The microbial population must rebuild layer by layer. But the results spoke for themselves. After just a few weeks of this method, the soil would become darker, softer, and wonderfully fragrant. A sure sign of life returning, really. Earthworms appeared, fungal threads laced through the mulch, and plants grew visibly greener with minimal watering. Modern gardeners who replicate this process often notice that their soil holds more moisture, resists erosion, and produces more nutrient-dense crops. The best part? It's all free. No chemical fertilizer can replicate this kind of natural balance. What makes this method so powerful is that it aligns perfectly with how nature operates. It doesn't fight against the natural decay and renewal cycle. It enhances it. The result is a living soil system that sustains itself for years. Unlike synthetic fertilizers that give plants a quick sugar rush, this method builds long-term fertility. It restores the soil's microbiome, the invisible community that keeps plants healthy, disease-resistant, and nutrient-rich. Your plants don't just grow, they thrive. Their roots dig deeper, their leaves grow larger, and their colors deepen. And once your soil is alive again, you'll never go back to the old way. If your garden feels stuck, lifeless, or unresponsive, don't despair. What it needs isn't more fertilizer, it needs life. And this ancient method is the key to bringing that life back. Feed the microbes, cover the soil, stop disturbing the balance. Nature will do the rest. In just a few weeks, your dead dirt will start breathing again, turning dark and crumbly, full of energy and growth. That's not magic. It's simply the wisdom of the past rediscovered. Your soil remembers how to live. You just have to remind it.